Hello, I'm Jerry Kafetz. I'd like to talk to you today about what it means to be Jewish. I was born and raised in the Jewish faith. Bar mitzvah at the age of 13. Came from a congregation called Temple Beth Israel in northern New York State. Now, you know, if you ask 10 different people, what does it mean to be a Jew? You're going to get 10 different answers. That's been my experience. So the question is, what does it mean to be a Jew? What is being Jewish? Well, a lot of people, when they think about their Jewish identity, it's an ethnic identity. It has to do with culture. It has to do with the social milieu of their Jewish experience. For some of the Jewish people that I've known, many of them, the identity is really a social identity, and that's what it is. Their friends are Jewish. They have a commonality of experience in terms of how they grew up, the traditions, the holidays, the food, the music, etc. Some would express Judaism in purely a cultural sense. For others, it's nationalistic. What it means to be Jewish is it means to be a part of the nation of Israel in some way, shape, or form, even if you don't live there. But the question to me is, how is Judaism truly defined? How is any religion defined? And it is my belief, after many, many years of study, looking at religions, taking religion seriously, that a religion must be defined by its scriptures. A religion must be defined by its scriptures. If we don't define a religion by its scriptures, then what happens is that definition becomes malleable. It becomes fluid. It becomes subject to change with social pressures, cultural pressures, changes in values, different emphases on history. That's not good, because a religion over time can change and evolve into something that it was not originally intended to be. That's why God told the Jews, remove not the ancient landmark. What he meant was, don't change what it means to be Jewish. Don't change what it means to be the chosen people. And in order to do that, we have to have something that's fixed. That's fixed. Tradition is not fixed. Tradition, originally, going back to the time of Abraham, there was no Jewish tradition. So where do we go? Well, that part of it is all man-made. I think if we go to the Jewish scriptures, if we go to the Torah, if we see there the exodus of the Jewish people from the nation of Egypt, from slavery in Egypt, if we see the wilderness wanderings, if we see the evolution of the prophets, the wisdom literature in the Jewish scriptures, we find there what it means to be Jewish. We find it to some extent in the Talmud, but you have to remember, the Talmud is a commentary on the law, and a commentary can never rise higher than that which it is commenting upon. I had a rabbi tell me one time when I was talking to him about the Jewish scriptures, he said, Jerry, it's about the Talmud, the Talmud, the Talmud. And I said, no, it's not. The Talmud is a commentary. Jewish religion and being Jewish can never be about a commentary. You have to go back to the roots of Judaism. And in those roots, we find a sacrificial system. We find the temple sacrifice, and we look back on that as being bloody, as being primitive, and in fact, it is very rare to meet a Jew who understands the Jewish sacrificial system. And that's unfortunate. It wasn't some primitive religion. It wasn't some cult whereby letting blood and killing animals we appeased an angry, unknown, mysterious, wrathful God. That's not what Judaism was, ever. That's not what the sacrificial system was. The sacrificial system was a looking forward to, a symbolic expression of God's sacrifice, the Jewish Messiah, who one day would come and would atone for all of our sins by his death. That is Judaism at its core. At its core, strip away the ethnic, strip away the social, strip away the cultural, strip away the national, go back to the Jewish scriptures, and that's what you have. one of my favorite places to see a detailed description of the characteristics of that Messiah, who he would be in the writings of Isaiah. There was an Orthodox Jewish rabbi born in Germany and trained in some of the best Jewish seminaries in the United States called Dr. Max Wertheimer, Rabbi Max Wertheimer. And he did a study of Isaiah. And he looked at some of these descriptive terms for the Messiah in Isaiah. And he came across terms like, my righteous servant. He came across phrases like, he gave his back to the smiters. Other phrases like, he gave his cheeks to them that pluck the hair. Now, Rabbi Wertheimer understood what I'm talking about here. He was seeking out the true identity of the Jewish Messiah. Was it symbolic, the way that I was taught? Was it the nation of Israel? Well, make your case. Make your case. I don't think that anybody's ever made that case to my satisfaction, and I'm not willing to turn off my critical faculties in the process of understanding what it means to be Jewish. So in these scriptures, we see what Rabbi Wertheimer saw. He also looked at the word Elohim. Elohim. What did that mean? Well, it was a plural noun. He looked at the Shema, the core of Judaism. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one God. But then he looked at the word Echad. And what did it mean? It's the same word as Eskol, the grapes of Eskol. What is it? It is also a plural noun. And he looked back at Genesis, and he looked back at the way God described himself. And God described himself as a plural identity. And he began to wonder, can this have any correlation with the Trinity? And then he went back to Isaiah 53. And finally, looking at that description of the Jewish Messiah in an honest and forthright and sincere and unbiased way, saying to God, show me who the Jewish Messiah is. Show me who Yeshua is. And in his own words, Rabbi Max Wertheimer says, I could hold out in unbelief no longer. And he was convinced by the Jewish scriptures, by the core of the Jewish scriptures, Isaiah 53, by the core phrase that identifies Judaism, the Shema, that the Christ of the New Testament was foretold in Isaiah 53. He was also described perfectly and in amazing detail in Psalm 22 in terms of how he would meet his demise, his crucifixion. So are we talking about a conversion here, my Jewish friends? Am I saying leave your Jewishness behind and become a Christian because of what the Jewish scriptures say? No, 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 no. This is not a conversion. This is a return to the identity of Judaism, of what it means to be Jewish, from the only place where it can be truly found, and the only place in all of this world that speaks with authority as to what it means to be Jewish, the Jewish Scriptures. I'm Jerry Kafitz.